so that they can then give you the time to think about these things, right? So I think it's important to kind of give a very clear and precise method of what you're doing, with the understanding that just as with a dissertation or any other project, it always changes when you actually begin to do it, and that's just part of the process, right? Um, and then I had the scholarly significance, which is a required component of the project, which is just allows you to then reiterate why what you're doing matters, right? Um, like why people should care about that question. And again, remember, you're not just trying to persuade someone who is an expert in what it is that you do. You'll have some of those people reviewing your proposal, no doubt. But they're not the only people on these committees, right? So you're gonna, in some ways, you're trying to make the case stronger for the people who are not in your area, who may not immediately understand why what you're doing is relevant or important. And that was what I tried to do in the scholarly significance area, trying to convince people who don't do critical race work, people who aren't thinking about bilingual education, why the types of questions I was asking and why the research that I was proposing really has importance for our field as a whole, education as a field as a whole. Give you some chance to look at that and see if you have any questions about that.
Can you share us about your writing process for this pencil?
Yeah.
Because I heard it's very, very competitive.
You mean like among the cohort or?
And like getting the grant.
Oh yes, getting the grants is competitive. So both the dissertation and the postdoc are competitive. So I actually was a finalist for the dissertation award, but I did not get it. And then I got the postdoc, so I was like, ha ha ha, I got it. But yeah, it's very competitive. And I think part of it is just part of it is arbitrary, right? Part of it is what might be of interest to a particular committee in a particular year, right? So there are some things you can control, right? You can kind of make sure you have a really clear statement of the problem that's connected very clearly to an existing debate in the field, that's connected very clearly to research questions and methods, right? You can control how coherent the proposal is, and you can control how strong your case is. You can't control who's actually going to read it and what their interest may be, right? But it's worth applying for. Just because, I mean, you get a whole year just to focus on your research, which is great, to focus on your writing. And you get to meet a lot of people, including your cohort members who are peers like you, who are at a similar stage in their career, who are just kind of getting on the tenure track and trying to figure out what they're doing. But you also get connected to senior scholars who can kind of help guide you in your thinking. So you can essentially pick as your mentors anybody who is affiliated with Spencer or the National Academy for Education. And these are kind of top scholars in the field. If you've been inducted into the National Academy of Education, you're a top scholar. And so it's a great chance to kind of connect with these people, and they can really kind of help you as you are kind of further developing your work.
Do you need recommendations for
You do.
postdoc?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do. And what I did, and this, I don't know if this is true or not, but my sense of it and what I was told was that you don't want letters just from people who were on your dissertation committee. So I had one. I had my dissertation chair write me a letter, and then I had Betsy and Nancy, colleagues here, write me letters. And if you know other people in the field, They could also write you letters, but I mean, I didn't have to go very far because we have top scholars in our field here who could write letters.
Also, you needed
Three.
dissertation.
They may have changed it since because they changed some of the criteria. Um, but so if it's two, then I would think for the postdoc, if it's still two, I think one of your dissertation chair is fine, and then one a colleague or someone else in the field who can speak to the important work and how it's contributing to kind of the debates in the field. And then this other thing here, it looks like it's changed because I looked online today just to see what the criteria were. I think they're calling it a career statement now. This was a personal statement when I did it. It was called a personal statement, where you were supposed to talk about how your personal trajectory has led you to these questions. So you can look at it. I think it's probably similar to what they're asking for the career statement.
Is it blindly used?
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, it's probably not because when I was doing the small grants for the Spencer, they don't know who I am, but I knew who they were because part of what they were asking me to evaluate on was whether they had the necessary expertise to do the project that they were proposing. So I think it's blind on the you won't know who's reviewing your proposal, but they'll know who you are because they're going to be looking at your CV, they're going to be looking at your experience to see if what you're actually proposing you can actually do or are qualified to do.
So do you think writing is the most important, or like all other factors come together? Probably if you need to make some kind of priority, like writing like essays or like your personal statement or letter of recommendation. Are there any priority you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it probably depends on the reviewer. I would imagine that the proposal is extremely important, and it's probably the most important part. Um, but I think that all of those other things matter too, because they do ask for a writing sample. I don't know if that's true for the dissertation one, but the postdoc one, they ask for a writing sample. Um, so and it has to be 20 pages max. So if you're submitting a peer review article, like I had to like cut mine some and kind of edit it so that it was 20 pages within the formatting that they wanted. So I think the postdoc level is maybe different than the dissertation level, and that once you're at the postdoc level, they're really interested in funding scholars. So they're interested more in you as a person than your project. They're interested in kind of like, is this somebody who is going to become a leader in the field? And do they have the evidence that suggests that they will be? Because I mean, and you can see many of the people who were Spencer postdocs do become leaders in the field. Part of that is because of the networking and the mentoring that happens through Spencer. And part of that was that I think that they saw something in these candidates, which is why they picked them. So I think whereas in a dissertation fellowship, you're trying to make a case that your dissertation is important. At the postdoc level, you're trying to make the case that you're important, if that makes sense, that you are someone who is kind of doing work that is innovative and cutting edge and is pushing the field in new directions. Um, and I think that comes through your proposal and how you talk about it, but it comes through also in that career statement where you're talking about how career has gotten you to this point. And then it's true in the writing samples that you provide to kind of show them that you're doing something that's kind of important, that's kind of innovative. Proposal questions about anything really.
With the small grants, how do they work? Like, do they fund dissertation research as well? Are they like set dates for them? Or?
There are set dates for the small grants, and they announce them. I think this maybe like twice or three times a year. They're not designed to fund dissertation research. They're designed to fund research that's being done by researchers kind of at universities, but they're not associated with any fellowship.
So it's mostly for faculty.
Yeah, yeah. So those are things that people would apply for, like after graduating. If you have like a project that you want to do, but don't necessarily have the, want have or time for or want the postdoc, you can apply for it. Or like after, because the postdoc is only for the first, you can only apply for it in your first 7 years, I think it is. People who are post or 7 years could apply for a Spencer's small grant to do a small project. And they have bigger projects too. I think the Lyle is a bigger one. I saw in an email that they just sent that they are starting their researcher partner grants again. So like people who are interested in partnering with schools or districts or community organizations are starting to fund those types of collaborations again. So I mean, the Spencer is the place to look if you're looking for people who fund education research. Something that people in educational linguistics specifically have to think about is how to frame their work in ways that are more education than linguistic. And that's not to say that you have to like not be linguistic. I think people are interested in kind of issues of language learning and things like that. But I think something that our students have to really think about is how do you frame it in ways that are accessible to people in education who don't have that linguistics background, which is sometimes hard to do because you're trying to make the case that you're asking questions that are connected to education.
People apply to a postdoc and small grant at the same time so that if they don't get the postdoc, they can just get the small grant.
I don't know. That's a good question. I wouldn't apply with the same proposal to both. Just because I think that Spencer sees all of them and they're going to be like this person. But if you have different projects that you're working on and they're trying to get both, I think that that's probably fine. I think that may be more work than you will have. So I would suggest maybe focusing on one of them, whichever one you think fits what it is you're trying to do at the time, whichever one you think you could make the strongest case for. Because a lot of the small grants that I saw were collaborations across different scholars, people who were kind of collaborating to develop a project together. It's not a requirement, but it seemed like the ones that I reviewed seemed more kind of not just one person's project. It's more like bringing people who have different expertise together to do a project.
Are there any other postdoc fellowship like that in the field of education?
So there's Ford, the Ford Fellowship, that I think is only available to U.S. citizens, but I'm not sure. But it's a similar. Well, Spencer is not only for U.S. citizens. I think Ford might be. But those are the two big ones in education that are these types of fellowships. And there are other grants. There are other funding sources that you can go to. IES, the Institute for Education Sciences. They're much more quantitative. So those of you who do quantitative work could look at some of the priorities of IES. And they give lots of money. They have lots of money. So you can get really big grants. But they are primarily interested in kind of experimental design and kind of replicable, is that the word? I don't know what the word is, but replicable interventions. So those are places that I would encourage like people who have a strong quant focus to go there. IES, yeah, the Institute for Education Sciences. They don't have any of these small fellowships that I know of, but they do fund like big projects that are experimental design or quasi-experimental design.
You don't have to be a citizen, but they're like the limit to where your institute is, like only U.S. scholars.
No, because I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that some of the members of my cohort were coming from abroad, based on I'm trying to remember the universities they were at, but I think there was somebody from the UK. So I don't. It's not connected just to the U.S.
The foundation is in the U.S., but it's internationally.
They're interested in education broadly defined, and that can include educational questions from a range of contexts.
As a faculty, if you have spent some postdoc fellowship, is it very helpful to get tenure?
It certainly doesn't hurt. Now I can say that at Penn, um, I think that there wasn't an expectation that you get a Spencer, but it was highly recommended that you try to get a Spencer because it is a very prestigious fellowship. So it's great. It's a great opportunity, but it's also very prestigious. So it certainly is something that looks very good on the tenure dossier. Yes.
So even if you don't have it, you can get it.
Yes, of course. Yes, even if you don't have it, you can definitely get tenure. But even if you're just not just a finalist, but if you are a finalist who don't get it, you can still put that on your CV because it's still an accomplishment. You still were selected from a big pool of competitive applicants to the short list. So I had my dissertation finalist on my CV. I don't know if it's still there, but when I was on the job market, I put it there because it's something that is an accomplishment. In the end, what happens is that you were selected as somebody who could get the fellowship, but then they have to prioritize which ones they want to prioritize, right? It's not about who's the most qualified. It's about which ones are we the most interested in based on our priorities at this moment, right?
So who are usually the scholars in the field?
Yeah. So it would be members of the National Academy of Education, maybe other people affiliated with Spencer, but senior scholars. But not necessarily senior scholars who are completely focused in what you do, right? I mean, I have not been on the other side of the postdoc yet. I'm not at this point in my career where I can be. But just my experiences with committees in general and reviewing proposals, that they'll try to find people who have some overlap with what you do, but the fit is never perfect, and then there's never enough people to do that. So they're going to have, and sometimes they want someone who's not an expert in your field to review it. So that they can give an outsider perspective on whether they feel like. So I would try to frame it. The balance in doing your proposal is to position yourself as someone who is an expert in what you do, without being so technical that somebody who's not an expert in that won't be able to understand what it's doing. Because I think because Spencer is an education-focused foundation, people who do education research have much more of an investment in the practical implications of the work than scholars in other fields, like the humanities or even some of the social sciences, where they're more interested in the contribution to the academic field. Education research, I think like people like Spencer are interested in those contributions to the field, but also want to have a clear sense that this is actually might have an actual impact on actual education in the world, right? So that's something that you'll want to try to highlight in work is why this matters, like how this might actually impact how we understand. Any other questions about proposal or other questions about funding in general or questions about dissertation writing in general?
Random question, maybe not important in the long
That's
run.
good.
So I'm writing my proposal abstract right now. When you're writing abstracts for your dissertation or proposal, do you recommend starting with background and then going to your study, or like start out just directly your study and give some significance of your study? So like whether to like highlight what your study does first and then like give the significance later, or just like foregrounded and then I was studying it right, or there's no preference?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's more of like a rhetorical kind of question. Like my rhetorical style tends to be to provide the kind of broader context to situate the work first, and then kind of go into what it is I'm doing. But then other people kind of do it the other way. I think that my kind of personal just opinion, um, for a grant like the Spencer, I think providing the broader context first is helpful, just because not every one of the reviewers may be familiar with the broader context of your work. Whereas if you're kind of gearing it just to people who do kind of the type of work you do, that broader context may be less necessary because they already understand that broader context, right? They don't necessarily need you to situate your work within the broader conversation because they're a part of that conversation.
For conferences, conference abstracts, you would, depending on the breadth of the conference, that would also matter.
Yeah. I think if it's a very specialized conference, I'm trying to think of a very specialized conference in your field. What's a specialized conference in your field? Triple A is even a little more general.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, that one would be one where you don't necessarily need that broader context, but AAA actually may be one where you do. AERA definitely, because AERA is so broad that there's people who aren't going to be involved in those conversations. And you should think of Spencer as similar to AERA. It's a education foundation at the broadest level, right? So there's going to be people who are looking at this from all kinds of different perspectives.
Yes, it's just of a dissertation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm writing my dissertation now, but sometimes I stop in writing because I should show my analysis from my own perspective and data analysis. But it's very difficult to make some analysis part in my finding chapter. Then when you wrote your dissertation, then you remember how you write your dissertation, like your finding chapter, particularly like how do you manage your time and do you add some like literature and then make some like connection, like discussion in the finding chapter too, or
Yeah, I'm trying to remember back to my dissertation. I mean, my dissertation was a little different in that it was all text analysis. So there were findings chapters, but they were different in that I was looking at historical texts and looking at contemporary texts and doing discourse analysis of those texts. But I'm trying to understand the question. So your question is about how to organize a dissertation, or
when you write the findings section, I should add like claim and subclaim and evidence, explanation in my like one paragraph, for example. So like big argument and like authority and my own analysis. So sometimes it's very difficult to write like analysis, how I think about like finding, make some connections using my own insight and data resources. So I'm wondering how I can make those kind of things together very coherently in my one paragraph in the finding chapter.
so how to kind of bring your original analysis
and argument together to make it clear.
Yeah, and you feel like you have to do that in one paragraph?
No, yeah, like each paragraph, I think I need like one small.
Oh, I see. You think each paragraph has to have like something,
and then they should be connected very well in a big umbrella together.
Yeah, I don't think that that's necessary. I mean, I think each chapter should be saying something new, should be contributing something to existing debates in the field. But I don't know if you should feel like every paragraph has to say something. It's kind of like what's the big takeaway from the chapter is more important.
It's super challenging for me to make something like some argument from each chapter. So,
Right, I think that, I mean, the question becomes like, what's the original argument for each chapter? But then how do those arguments come together to make an even bigger argument, right? And that's what you do in your final chapter is that you bring all of those threads together and kind of talk about how does this all fit together. Any other questions? I think we're set then, right?
Thank you so much.
No, thank you for coming.